Chapter 10. The Bitter Peace. The peace did not arrive with a dove. It arrived in a black armored convoy driving through the slush of Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. A city of wide Soviet boulevards and turquoise domes had once again become the graveyard of Asian conflict. 61 years earlier, in 1966, India and Pakistan had signed a peace treaty here that ended in tragedy with the death of an Indian Prime Minister. Now, in December 2027, the ghosts of history stood on the sidewalks, watching the motorcades of the Dragon and the Elephant converge on the Palace of Forums. Secretary Ravi Menon sat in the back of the lead Mercedes. The bulletproof glass distorted the grey winter light, making the world look like an underwater ruin. He was exhausted, not the physical exhaustion of the soldier, which is sharp and muscular, but the corrosive, soul-eating fatigue of the diplomat. For 72 hours he had not slept. He had argued over commas. He had fought over the definition of line of control versus line of actual contact. He had traded valleys for ridges and rivers for mountain passes. "Sir," his aide murmured, looking at a tablet that was finally connected to a secure, reinstated satellite link. "The draft is finalized. Beijing has agreed to the status quo antebellum clause, but they are insisting on the demilitarized buffer zone in the Depsang Plains. They want a 20-kilometer pullback." Menon rubbed his eyes. 20 kilometers. That puts our DBO airstrip within their visual range, but outside our defensive perimeter. It's a trap. "If we refuse," the aide said softly, "the ceasefire expires at midnight. The S-400s are already spooling up again." Menon looked out at the bleak trees lining the avenue. "They won't fire. They're just as broken as we are. Accept the buffer. But add a clause, joint electronic verification. If they move a single sensor into that zone, the deal is void. We trade space for eyes." The architecture of silence. Inside the Palace of Forums, the air conditioning was set to a sterile chill. The room was a cavern of white marble and gold leaf, designed to make humans feel small. At the center stood a massive teak table, polished to a mirror shine. On one side sat the Chinese delegation, led by State Councillor Wang. He was a man of steel-rimmed glasses and unreadable expressions, a technocrat who viewed war as a debugging process for the state. On the other side was the Indian External Affairs Minister, flanked by Menon and the National Security Advisor. There were no handshakes. The animosity was too fresh, the blood too wet. The signing ceremony was a study in mechanical precision. The pens scratched against the parchment, sound amplified by the microphones, sounding like dry leaves skittering on pavement. Flashbulbs popped, a staccato rhythm that mimicked the muzzle flashes of the last month. The Tashkent II Accord. It officially ended the War of the Glass Horizon. It stated that 1. Both sides would withdraw to pre-war positions. 2. A no-cyber pact would protect critical civilian infrastructure, power grids, hospitals, from future state-sponsored attacks. 3. The Malacca Strait blockade would be lifted immediately. 4. The Iron River, Qing-Tibet Railway would be allowed to be repaired, but under international observation. It was a stalemate, dressed up as a resolution. No territory changed hands. No ideology triumphed. 50,000 men had died or were wounded to draw a line in the snow that was in the exact same place it had been in 2020. As Wang stood up to leave, he caught Menon's eye. The Chinese diplomat paused, then gave a barely perceptible nod. It wasn't respect. It was recognition. They were the janitors of the apocalypse, sweeping up the mess that the generals had made. Menon didn't nod back. He simply closed his briefcase, the weight of the dead heavy in his hands.